2, 3. Better than yesterday. Back again. Do I need to say back again? Whatever. So, I meant to do this review last week, but this is for a film that I absolutely love and adore. And like all reviews that I do, I really want to immerse myself in what I'm telling you about. So, I watched it again, even though I've watched it 50 bazillion times. And read up a ton on its director. The movie I'm talking about is Stations of the Elevated. This is a film about 45 minutes long, completed in 1881. And let me say up front, I'm going to put a little clip of different scenes from the film so you understand what I'm talking about up here. But as I was editing that, just to give you some highlights so you knew what to expect besides my inane ramblings, I felt like I was committing an act of sacrilege. And here's why. The film combines nearly everything I love. Trains, subway, New York, graffiti, film, jazz, all in this beautifully shot tone poem of a film. And first of all, I have to strip it of music because of YouTube, and second of all, it is a complete lyrical tone poem of a film. You get lost, you get immersed in it, and slicing that up it's horrible. Because there used to be an axiom in filmmaking that every cut had to be justified. Every edit that you made had to be justified. That is lost nowadays with, action films, superhero films. It seems like it's strange that CGI, where you wouldn't have to cut, they cut more than ever before. And if you want a perfect example of how to edit a film and how the editing of a film can be an art form in its own right, Stations of the Elevated is the perfect example of it. It's beautifully put together. Now, there's a warning I added to this. There's 2 versions of this film. And it's a good thing that there is 2 versions of this film. One is the original 45-minute cut. And then there's a 28-minute cut that nobody I know of knows who did this. But that's what everyone saw in the 90s and 80s on VHS tapes, because there was a lot of legal wrangling over the rights to this film, and that came down to the music that was involved. If you want to, you can look up exactly why, because I don't want to throw shade, but yeah, there was some wrangling over the rights, which sucks because the soundtrack is by Charles Mingus, and he was, dead by the time this whole controversy came up. So the film only existed in this 28-minute cut that was passed around. And the film, as you can see, is all about full car graffiti. And it still happens, but it's rare because the MTA will buff a train if it's a full car. And full cars from the 70s and 80s are they're like the holy grail of graffiti culture. And not only that, but this film is a love letter to New York City in the late 70s, early 80s. The footage is incredible because while it focuses on these full cars, the landscape, the environment, you're going to see a lot of landscape you don't normally associate with New York City if you don't live within the city itself. And at the same time, Manny was using the advertising that was all over the city to juxtapose this concern where advertising is okay, but these kids creating an art form on the side of subway cars is strictly verboten. So it's odd watching the film and looking back at it, because you look at that advertising now and it creates that sense of nostalgia, which probably didn't occur when it was first made, but you know what? 40 years on, 50 years on, you can't help but feel that sense of, I don't know, it's interesting. The other thing that I love about this film is it shows the South Bronx as it was back then, and yeah, you see the photographs and stuff, but seeing the actual footage of it, it just kind of blows you away. Yeah, Henry Ford did no one any favors with that one. Or wait, Henry Ford, President Ford, Gerald Ford. You can tell it's not just the stations that are elevated in this review. Manny Kirchheimer. Hopefully this is a gateway drug for a lot of you if you haven't seen his work before, because he's done some amazing short films. Lately there's been Claws, which is about the destruction of the city. Free Time, which is a beautiful film, and that film was shot 50 years ago. He planned to do a long form film with a partner. That project didn't go through, and then he got his permission just recently to edit together a new film out of that. And Free Time shows New Yorkers in Midtown and Manhattan just hanging out on their block. And this is back before all the glass boxes went up and destroyed the landscape. I mean, you can't look at that footage and go, yes, we've made an improvement with these huge skyscrapers. Not at all. And it's wonderful because Kirchheimer has said the same thing is going on in Brooklyn today. I mean, when I go to different appointments and stuff, the traffic's horrible and it's construction everywhere. And, you know, things change, but it's not always for the better. But we still have these kinds of films, and it's so beautiful. And here's the thing, it used to be available on Amazon Prime. I recommended it to a crap ton of people. I was like, there's this amazing little short film, you have to see it. Just kick back, relax, let everything go. And now they've changed it to one of those, you have to subscribe to a special channel, yada yada yada. Nobody's got time for that. And normally I would just say, spit on your hands and hoist the black flag. But unfortunately, if you do that, you'll probably catch the 28-minute version. Luckily for us, some enterprising soul has uploaded it to YouTube, so I'll put the link at the end of the video. If you're watching this after it gets removed, which all good things seem to get removed from YouTube nowadays, I'm sure you can search for it and find it. It's definitely worth the time. It's so freaking good. And I'll also link to, there's an interview with Lee, who's one of the young kids that you see, you know, he was doing the graffiti, but you see them benching, which is another thing that I love. Just these kids sitting there and watching the trains go by, waiting for the car that they did, pointing out cars of people that they know. I mean, it's a lost. It's not a lost art because it's still going on and I adore it, but yeah, it's a love letter to that. It's a love letter to the city, it's a love letter to Mingus, and Aretha Franklin's got one song on there, and it's a love letter to trains. It's just pure love. Highly, highly, highly recommend this film. We're coming up on the weekend. I would, left-handed cigarette, kick back and enjoy some Mingus and some great artwork. And definitely check out Free Time, Claws. He has a recent film called Canners, I believe, which he went out and filmed and interviewed people who collect aluminum cans for the 5-cent deposit. So, yeah, I mean, when we put our bottles and cans out, we put them in a separate bag down beside the thing, just so, otherwise you can't get woken up at 5 in the morning. Anyways, love you guys. I hope you appreciate this movie as much as I absolutely love it. And like I said, I hope it's a gateway drug for finding more Manny's films. Anyways, love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye.